Hey there guys, I'm making an old recipe from way back in 2013. It's an old one, but it's a really good one because look at this. Tequila Margarita Cupcakes, watch and learn. This recipe makes about 16 cupcakes. You're going to want to preheat your oven to 350 and then either working in batches or if you have 2 muffin tins, go ahead and line those with whatever cupcake liners you choose. I'm going with green and turquoise, I think. So to ensure that my cupcakes are light and airy, just like I like them, I always start with a fine pastry flour or a cake flour. I love this one from Bob's Red Mill. It bakes up beautifully and I always get the best results. Another trick for getting really fluffy cupcakes is to sift together your dry ingredients. So 1½ cups of that fine pastry flour, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, and then a ½ teaspoon of salt, and then you're just going to sift it all together. Just sift by hitting the side of whatever this is. What are these called? Just keep sifting, whatever it is. If you have a stand mixer, you can use this guy to whip together your butter and your sugar. So we have 1 stick or a ½ cup of butter and then a full cup of granulated sugar. We're going to throw it in there, let it go on medium-high for at least 5 minutes until it's really light and pale in color. Okay, well that's whipping together. You can zest and juice your limes. 1½, these are kind of small, so I'm just going to use 2. If you have a microplaner, that works really, really well to get a nice fine zest. Just go ahead and zest those up. Then you're going to want to juice these guys, so just cut them in half. If you have one of those little citrus squeezers, use those. I don't know where mine is. I always like to strain it so I don't have any pulp in there. So I'm just squeezing it right over the strainer. It's kind of dry, I might need 3. For a real consistent cupcake, be sure that you really whip together that sugar and butter. You want to incorporate that together till it's nice and smooth and fluffy and airy like this. It'll get pale in color. That's how you know 5 to 7 minutes, medium-high. Then we're going to add our eggs. I like to put them in a little measuring cup first so that I don't get any shell in my batter. So 2 eggs into here, and then I add my vanilla as well right in with this mix. So maybe like a ½ teaspoon of vanilla. Then when you add your eggs to the batter, you're just going to add them one at a time. So you just want this on a slow speed, just kind of stirring, and then you're just going to plop one in, let it incorporate all the way, stop it, scrape down the sides, and then do the same thing with the next one, and just let it go until it's incorporated. So now we add the good stuff, a couple tablespoons of tequila. I like this Espolon, it's delicious, mixes really well in baked goods. And then about 1½ to 2 tablespoons of the lime juice, and then about a tablespoon of the lime zest right in there. So you just mix that all in the mixer for like 15 to 20 seconds. It might curdle on you and it looks kind of disgusting, but don't worry, it'll smooth out when you add the dry ingredients. I think it's just the reaction of the alcohol and the citrus with the egg. It's gross. Now we're adding everything together. So we have that guy going on a low speed, and then we've got a ½ cup of buttermilk and our dry ingredients. So we're going to add about 1/3 of this, 1/2 of this, 1/3 of this, 1/2 of this, and end with another 1/3 of this. Just let it mix until it's barely mixed together. Here is my batter. You can see there's still some floury bits in there. That's perfectly fine. It's better than over mixing. You definitely don't want to over mix your batter. You can see the little bits of lime zest in there, and now we're ready to scoop it into the cupcake liners. You can see I've got my cupcake liners ready to go, and then I just like to use a cookie scoop, and I just scoop in there, kind of a big, nice scoop, and drop them right in, about 3/4 full, and that should make a perfect cupcake. Once these guys are all filled, you can give them a little bang on the counter just to make sure there's no air bubbles in there anymore. Pretty good. And then I like to put them on a lined baking sheet in case it spills over, and so they don't slip around. So pop them in the oven right on a center rack, and they'll go for 18 to 22 minutes depending on your oven. I like to rotate the pans about halfway through the bake time, and you'll know they're ready when you stick a toothpick in there and it comes out clean. While your cupcakes are baking, you could clean your kitchen, you could start working on your frosting, or, I don't know, if you're feeling real adventurous, a little tequila, right? Whew. I just pulled these guys out of the oven. Everybody's feeling real good around here. And now we're just going to use this cake tester to see how they turned out. So just slide that right in the middle, Comes out perfectly clean, just barely golden around the edges and nice and springy still. So now I'm just gonna pop these guys out and let them cool on a little cooling rack and then whip together the tequila lime buttercream frosting. Yum. Here's a good little tip. I've got a tablespoon of fresh squeezed lime juice, little tequila, and then you're just gonna take that and brush it on the tops of the cupcakes just to keep them moist and to up that flavor. The frosting's really simple. It's just butter, 2 sticks. I like to use European style butter, unsalted. It's creamier, it has a better flavor, more fat in there. Powdered sugar, 2 3/4 cups, and limes, about 2 tablespoons of fresh squeezed lime juice, 2 tablespoons of tequila, because we gotta get more tequila, and then of course some salt, like a salted margarita, so we'll sprinkle that on top, and that's really it. But first, before we squeeze those limes for the juice, we're gonna zest this for a little garnish to go on top of the cupcake. So I like to make like these long curly little zests that look so nice on a finished cupcake. We're gonna start by whipping that butter alone in our stand mixer with the paddle attachment for about 5 minutes till it gets really fluffy, and then we'll add the sifted powdered sugar to get a really creamy frosting. My butter's all whipped up, so now we're gonna add the powdered sugar. We'll get this guy going on medium-low and just slowly, gradually add the powdered sugar in, scraping the sides as we go, just letting it slowly incorporate until it's nice and smooth. When you're mixing frosting, it's a good idea to use the whisk attachment because then you get that really light, fluffy frosting instead of a heavy, dense frosting. So use this guy, let it go, let it whip for a few minutes until it's really airy and everything's incorporated. All the flavor in the frosting is going to come from the tequila and the lime, so I've got 2 tablespoons of each in here. Then I'm just going to take a little pinch of salt, maybe 2, just to give the frosting a little fuller flavor. You're going to mix that in and let it go for a few minutes until it's super fluffy. When I decorate cupcakes, I just like a big swirl, nothing fancy, so I use a really big tip and just cut the excess plastic off that, screw this coupler on, and then I stick it in a big cup to fill, like so. My frosting's nice and smooth, ready to go, so I just carefully scoop it in here, careful not to get it all over the sides of the bag so I don't make a giant mess, hopefully. I'm sure I will. Stick it in there. And then I just do a little bit, maybe a third, half at a time, so that I'm not overfilling my bag. Then you bring the sides up, like this, and gently squeeze it down in. So there's no air bubbles in there. And then you just kind of give it a nice tight twist so that it forces it out and there's a little pressure, and then you'll just pipe it right onto those cupcakes. Take your piping bag, starting at the outside, work your way in a swirl all the way around from the outside in till you have an adorable little swirl. Boop, so cute. See that cute little swirl? It's a little like a poop emoji, but that's okay because it's not brown. It's still gonna look great. I just don't like them too complicated. So they look great when they have a little lime zest. It'll look amazing. If you're not gonna serve these guys right away, you can refrigerate them at this stage and they'll be fine. Just take them out a few minutes, maybe half hour before you serve so they can soften up at room temperature. But if you are, it's time to garnish. So you're just gonna garnish right before you serve them. When you are ready to garnish, you can just nestle a little half wheel of lime in there, sprinkle on a few little zests, and of course, don't forget the salt. Yum, looks so good. There we go, tequila lime margarita cupcakes with salt, of course. These are everybody's favorite. Make them for your friends. You can get the recipe at bakingthegoods.com. Let me know if you have any questions, and happy baking, you guys. Thanks for watching.